Hey, Danny from Chicago's Broadway Antique Market, and I'm here with my co-host Melissa Sands from Evanston's Vintage Garage, and you are listening and watching to another episode of Vintage Therapy. And if you've been following us, every week we address questions from dealers and the public and customers, clients, different topics related to the vintage industry. You can kind of think of us as the retro Siskel and Ebert. You can apply which one of us is which. So today's topic is, and we jump into some of these things that are difficult to talk about even for ourselves. And this one is about difficult customers. As a retailer, how do you deal with that? How do you approach that? How do you handle that? How do you not screw yourself over or end up with like lots of bad Yelp reviews because of difficult interactions with difficult customers? I think this one's probably a little more in my wheelhouse, given the fact that I have a retail store and I sell for 75 other dealers. I think, and Melissa will add into this one, as a show promoter, she's going to come at it from a different angle. But I'm going to say, and we're filming this now, first week of August 2021. It's been an interesting summer in the midst of COVID and mask mandates and pandemic in the news pretty much 24/7. One of the things that's going on right now is just actually having a mask mandate, requiring people to wear a mask in a store. If you have a store, are you requiring people to do that or not? And admittedly, third rail topic. We're not taking a position. It's not a political thing. This is all about your store and you making money and retail. So as of late, that's been a bit of a topic. And I'm going to put this out as a just really quick story, and then we'll get off that one. And we'll talk about other difficult issues. I actually had a couple come in a week ago. Lovely couple. They've been shopping with us for 20 years. They always buy something. They're great. Well, they saw that we were all wearing masks. At that point, the mask mandate hadn't gone into effect, but the whole staff we're all wearing masks. And the husband comes up to the counter and says, "Are we still doing this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, we are. We're protecting ourselves. We're protecting you. And hey, how you doing? What's new?" And the guy goes, "No, we're not doing this." And again, hadn't even been asking him to wear a mask yet. Turns around and leaves. Okay, this is a bread and butter customer for my store and my dealers. I ran out onto the street to talk to them. Took my mask off when I went outside, right? And said, "You guys are the best. We're here because you've supported us for all these years. You're like top 10 customers." And I'm not BSing, they really are, right? Because every time they're good for $100, something like that. That's what these are customers that pay the bills. And the guy said, "We're from the burbs, we're not doing this." And I said, I totally get it, but you're in the city. And right now, this is what's going on. I said, if I go into Starbucks, they're making me wear a mask. I said, I'm not happy about it, but I said, hey, we're in these masks 7 hours a day, and that particular weekend, they did not have to wear a mask. So we weren't really asking anything of them other than to look at us wearing masks. I mean,
Oh my gosh,
how difficult is that, right?
that's
But here we go back to listening, which is what we've talked about in this series, and empathy. Like where are these people coming from? Well, he's telling me they're coming from the suburbs. I don't know what suburb. I'm not judging, right? But wherever they are, he said, when I go to the bank, that was his. I go to the bank, I don't have to do that. Well, it's your bank. Here you have to go to the post office. All the post office, you have to wear a mask, right? That's that. Anyway, and the wife was like, you know what? Let's go back in and shop. And they came back in and shopped, and they spent like $150.
Wow.
He was still a little grumbly, whatever. And I got him back. And I was so happy with myself for doing that. And I wouldn't do that for everybody. But I was heartfelt. It was heartfelt. Anyway, I blabbed on too much. Melissa.
I mean, I understand. I understand that has to be a difficult thing to do. I will admit that I am lucky that we have only had one show since COVID started, and that was last month. I had left it up to the vendors and the customers whether or not they wanted to wear masks. that was fine. If they didn't, that was fine. Of course, that was before we started this kind of resurge. Um, so, I'm going to probably have to deal with some things like that on the next show. Luckily, we're open air, so it's a little bit different than being indoors. But yeah, I mean, I think people are, let's see, what's the word I'm looking for? People are just, there's so much confusion. And I'll say too, like Jim and I went to Milwaukee for a concert, and we went to the Iron Horse Hotel and had dinner before we went to the show, and their whole staff was wearing masks. Now we were not, because we actually sat outside too, but I think that that's pretty normal. I think a lot of businesses are still wearing masks. The owners of the businesses and the people that are working at a business are all wearing masks. Um, because I just feel like nobody really knows how else to respond. So what's wrong with that? Not nothing, but I think it scares people, maybe. Is that it? Scary. The whole thing is just scary and creepy, kind of. And it's like
Yeah.
you go into some place that you're used to having things be a certain way, and things are just suddenly different. So it sounds to me like you did exactly what needed to be done. They needed to hear it from you. They wanted to talk to you, and they just needed to feel comfortable, and you did that.
Yeah.
And
What?
so there's other situations though where, let's talk about some of those situations that are completely unwarranted, really. I mean, in your opinion or my opinion, but maybe that person doesn't feel it's unwarranted. Let's talk about some of those
Sure.
things.
Sure.
So like if you have somebody come into Broadway and they're, what is something you see difficulty with on a regular basis? Like
Sure.
what's something that you hear that you have to deal with?
Okay. Customers. Okay. Wanting to make offers on things, which is
Ah,
okay. We can phrase that way. And I'll often respond with, "Well, let me get the best price from the dealer," and sometimes that might be even a better price than they were going to offer. That's happened. Um, but just how people are. Um, there are people that just being honest. If somebody goes and makes a half price offer, I'm not relating that to the dealer. Bit of an insult. Nobody's making any money on that one. So we don't do that. You know. Um, so that's generally more how I responded. But then I get into, or they'll get into, no, you need to do this because that's your job. And I've heard that a number of times. So I'm making an offer, and it's your job to tell the dealer. And no, that's not my job, because honestly, it's just going to piss the dealer off. And dealers understand, yeah, um, it's wasting their time. I'm calling them up on a Saturday, and they're with their kids and whatever. And like, what?
your time.
You're calling me to make this offer? That's ridiculous. Yeah, yeah, totally wasted my time, but it's a waste of the dealer's time too. It's a waste of everybody's time. But this do your job business, that doesn't cut it. That boy, I don't do that job. Not my job. Yeah, not my job description. Again, I will get you the best price. Generally, that's a transaction which is just not going to be successful. Let's be honest, because it's coming at it from both sides.
Well, I would
Not going to happen.
think this is similar. I mean, everybody who sells online is getting these kinds of offers. I'll give you an example of something I saw online this week. Someone has been offered again something expensive online, and then is offered, somebody sends an offer that's half price, or someone sends you something to let you know that they have 100 of those and wouldn't price, I don't have anything priced that high. So when you get an email like that, what do? I'm going to tell you what Jim and I do. We
Um,
do nothing. We do nothing.
I was going to say, yeah, you're kind of down the rabbit hole once you start that.
Because the way I see it is, if somebody is going to send you a kind of an aggressive email saying, will you take this for this, or will you, do that? They're preparing for battle with you. I don't know why, but they are. And if you engage, then you're entering a battle with someone you don't know for no reason. So my first advice to anyone is, when you get these emails that are just annoying, Ignore, delete. Take a deep breath and ignore it and delete it. I mean, you know when somebody's baiting you and you know when
Right.
somebody is being serious, you know? I mean, I've had things online that I've had online for maybe a year. So maybe there are times that somebody wants to come in and give me a half price offer, and maybe I'm willing to take it at that point.
Right.
So it's not everything. It's kind of just the way that you're approached with something can make you feel like you're being attacked.
I will say the exception to this is when you're getting such emails and you have a brick and mortar store, they're just going to call you. They don't let up with just
Oh
an
my
email.
lord. Oh my lord.
So not my partner, right, Jeff Nelson and I often talk about this. It's that anonymity of the internet that you can just say and kind of do whatever you want. And who cares, anybody's feelings. I don't care about hurt feelings. I want to buy this item, and this is what I'm willing to pay for it. And to not respond to an email, well, then you get the phone call, and then they leave a message, and it's kind of like, let's respond to it. Let's just be done with it. It's just cut it off and be done with it. That's not gonna work. I've had is people that they just want to trade. I want this thing that's in the
You
in
trade for money?
trade.
Trade
They
goods
have
for
they
money?
have goods, they have merchandise that they want to trade for that they saw
Of
in
course.
booth 150, right?
You don't want
Like,
to do that?
silly me, right?
You're
And it's never a good deal. It's darn if it's never a good deal. And it's or just different. Or the other is this goes on. This actually should be my top one is people want to buy just a part of something. Goes on all the time.
So what, one chair out of a dining room
Exactly.
table costs
There's a set of 4 dinette chairs that have been together for 50 years, and they go at that table. I just want that one chair, right? A set of glasses. I just want 2 of those 6 glasses. Pieces of things. And vintage clothing, totally. There's a jacket and a skirt. They just want the jacket.
okay,
And
see, I can't see
and
myself doing that ever.
why is because they don't want to spend as much money. But here's how I spin this, and I'll pass this along. And this works really with anything, but especially with clothing. I said, buy the set. Give the skirt to a friend of yours. You got a great gift. This is something you love. This jacket. Your friend will love that skirt.
Well,
Buy the glasses, split them up.
you
It
just
doesn't really
remind
work so much with furniture, but I've sold things like that, and people go, "Hey, you know what? That's a good idea. This would make a great gift."
that would be good. And you just reminded me that I've had that before at the clothing and jewelry show. And what we have said is, and this is very true, if you have the whole outfit, that is going to, and you decide you want to sell this someday,
Yep.
you're going to be in a better position because you're going to have it as a whole. So
Right.
even if you don't wear a piece of it, you still have this entire outfit. You don't want to part it out. Having this all together is a good thing. So yeah, that's kind of a good.
Oh, no, that's a really good point. And people want they just want to buy a single lamp of a pair, and I'll say, hey, here's the great thing about vintage. When you go to buy the pair, just buy the
Yeah,
pair, get you the best price. When you're tired of these and want to sell them, because they're cool and somebody will absolutely buy them. It's not something you got at IKEA and it's worthless, right? I said, you got a pair of lamps, and a pair of lamps sell better than a single lamp. A pair
yeah,
of chairs sell better than a single chair, and on and on and on. So we agree on that one. There's
yeah,
just
for
so many
sure.
different ways and we're not upselling at all. We're trying to. I'm a real purist in that when something comes in, a set comes
Right.
in, it needs to leave. It's
I
the
agree.
goofy karma I have in my head. I can't describe it.
No, if it's been together for
Yeah,
all that time, it should stay together.
yeah.
I don't want to pull it apart for
No,
somebody. It's like, again, and then I think people do understand that when you bring it up to them and say it, and they go, oh, but I think it's something you just have to remind them of.
generally they do. Generally they do. So I think what we're really saying is difficult customers try to find an avenue which somewhat scratches their itch. Because it's coming down to they don't want to spend as much money, or like I said, if they want to make an offer, go, you know what, let me just get the best price from the dealer, because it still comes down to a price. Rephrase it. This is try to avoid the negative. And I think we've talked about this before on other episodes, right? And you know, you got to be quick on your feet on a lot of these things. You'd be kind of blindsided because, you know, people come up to you, they can say almost anything, you know. Like what?
Opposite. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I've
that's been, you
definitely.
know, so I think you need to do your best to turn it around. Um, and you know what?
So what
You
do
might
you
not
do though when you know you can't turn it around? What do you do when you just know somebody is just being
know. An ass.
outrageous to be outrageous, you know, and
Yeah.
they're having a bad moment and you know it and you know there's not a whole lot you can do? What do you do?
I use humor and I'll say, you know what? I don't think this marriage can be saved.
That's a good one.
I try to diffuse it with that. You know, I mean, in the back of my head, you know, if this goes on and like I get somebody who's like, I'm not going to leave till I get this item. You know, it's I don't want to be. I'm not. I've very rarely thrown anybody out. Let me put it that way. Now, in the back of my head, I might be thinking that, going like, uh, I would just say, cut your losses, be friendly about it. Um, I think I've mentioned before, yeah, I've credited with giving people the worst news the best possible way. Probably say that on my tombstone. Um, uh, and then move on because again, inevitably, if you're working in a retail store or you're in your booth, you've got another customer to help, and or go look for another customer to help. Go like, hey, I got to help this guy over here. I really appreciate you coming in. I hope you find something next time, or I hope you find what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Again, you know, on the positive. You even if they're being negative, you're being positive. And then I don't really think you can go wrong. You'll feel better about the whole, you know,
Sure.
situation. And you know, not everything's a sale, and that's okay. Inevitably, though, and I do see this, I don't know why, but where somebody's been hammering me about something and they leave, and an hour later, or a day later, or a week later, somebody comes in and buys that piece for full
Snap it
price,
up for full price. Right.
happy as a clam, and is glad it's still there, and they're just, which that never would have happened. I wouldn't have this happy customer if I didn't have this unhappy customer a day, a week, you
Well, I
know,
mean, you
a
think about
try.
it. People can have customers can have all kinds of ideas in their heads about what they're willing to pay for something.
Yeah,
And you know, if you got something similar 5 years ago and you only paid X for it, maybe in your mind you're thinking, well, I don't want to pay more for this one. Um, so yeah, it is. It maybe sometimes it's also a find out what the real problem is.
mhm.
Sometimes there's a problem kind of beyond that
Yeah,
what
it's
you're
true.
noticing.
Right,
And if
right.
you dig in a little deeper, you might find out, well, I did buy this, but I got a really good deal on it. And then maybe your answer could be, well, if you had the two of them together and you paid X and then you divide it by two, you've done pretty well.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. What then we'll get a whole different topic of what pisses me off is when you make a deal or agree to whatever the terms, so the price, and then they get this, oh, now I'll think about it. It's like you came in here, you made an offer, I accepted your offer. Now, what the heck was all this about? What,
I think we
right?
just got frozen.
And I wish customers would realize that what a time waster that is, you know,
Ugh,
for
they
every
don't.
no, they don't. But putting it out there, folks.
Sure.
You know, if you're making an offer, it's an offer. It's your word. Be a gentleman. Be a gentle lady.
Well,
Honor your word. Honor your
person,
word. A dealer shouldn't do that. A dealer absolutely shouldn't do that. Dealer said, "This is the price. Honor that. Honor that price." It's not like, "Oh, tomorrow it's more money." No, you made a deal. It's the honorable thing.
right.
That's good retailing.
Well, I think that's a pretty good, that's some good advice too. You know, be
Yeah,
honorable about it. If
yeah. As
you
opposed to
did your best in dealing
it's
with it,
honorable.
then
Yeah,
you've done your best.
right. Yeah.
Um, I, yeah, I mean, I can absolutely tell you that every time I've had a situation with a customer who's not happy or upset, um, it's generally because there's stress involved from maybe something else. Um, Again, people walk in with a chip on their shoulder from something that you don't know, or if they fight with their significant other an hour before
Mhm.
coming.
Yes, that has happened.
Yeah, so it's like
Happened.
there's a
Yeah.
myriad of reasons that
Yeah.
somebody can be cranky.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'll suggest number one, ignoring, like you said. Number two, maybe diffusing it with a little humor, or, attempting to be kind, or attempting, to be nice. And if they can't accept that, you can always say, have a nice day.
Yeah.
I just feel like the worst thing you can do is get riled up by it. It can
Right.
wreck your entire day. It can wreck your sales for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
so
I'm
yeah,
the kind
I
of
mean,
person. I'm the kind of person that internalizes it, so that in the evening I'm going, "Did I handle that well?" I just beat myself up. 30 years later, it's just who I am. I beat myself up. Um,
everybody feels like that though, because you never expect somebody to attack you. You
no,
really don't. I mean, you're not ready for it. Nobody's ever ready for people to come in and be, "Ah, ah, ah." And so then you're kind of on the defensive and you're like, you don't know what to say. And then people get angry. Oh, look, it's my tornado siren again.
yeah.
This is awesome. You have to remember we do this on Tuesdays. So,
That's right. We do. That's it comes up. I I will say I do use this, and I'll pass this one along. Especially if you're selling things for other people. So when a customer says, "I just don't understand why they can't sell it to me for blah blah blah," I'll go, "Okay, wait a minute. Let's pretend you're the dealer. Let's pretend you rent that showcase and I'm selling your things. So what I know what you do. You tell me, we have a relationship. And I call you up and I ask, "Hey, what's your best price?" Just flip it. We're the dealer's shoes, right? That I say, so that's what I do. Now, I know that sounds like I'm dumbing it down, but I'm sure a lot of people go, "Oh, that makes sense. I kind of get it now." Because I said, this is basically paraphrasing of, "Hey, I sell things for other people, but you have to explain what that really means," right? In
yeah,
that, so the dealer decides. I'm the middleman, absolutely, and I'm not standing in the way of the transaction. I want the sale for you, and I want the sale for the dealer, right? So just pretend you're the dealer in this. And I said, so somebody's coming along with this half price offer or whatever, you know, is that really your best offer? Because before I make this phone call that I'm not going to make for half price. Um,
well, and maybe that's another problem because you're a store. And when people come to the vintage garage, they're dealing with the dealer
right,
personally.
right,
They're not coming to me and saying they won't give me a half off price.
right,
They're all dealing with everybody individually.
right. And
So
that's
that's
what I
a
started
lot.
with by saying, they're different markets, which is why I think this is an interesting show and dialogue that we have. But to that point, there's absolutely people who prefer to shop your markets. They want to say, "I want to talk to the dealer. I want to see the dealer. I want to hear." The dealer has a history of where they got it from. When people want a story, occasionally I have a story because it was my dealer told me where he got it, how he got it.
Right.
But a market like yours, they get to deal directly with the dealer, and the public loves that. They may gripe here or there about the price of that, but it still comes down to that's that one-on-one experience that they get there that you don't get in a mall, per se.
Yeah, I guess, huh? And then you're the one that has to bear the brunt of all of the communication between the
Well,
customer
I
and the
here
dealer.
I have to sell.
Yeah,
I have to sell, and dealers in your market, they have to sell. Right?
right.
They're front line, whereas I'm front line. So the problems obviously are different.
Very. That's a big deal though. I mean, it's something that I hadn't really thought about that way. You're definitely the middleman between the dealer and the customer.
Right,
And
between
they
this
don't have to deal.
happening and not happening.
I mean, what a fabulous that sounds great to me. To not have to
Perhaps sometimes.
great that
Yeah,
I you could can you sell all my stuff for me?
yeah, no.
Come on. You're so mean.
Yeah, I know. That's what I've heard. I mean,
You are. You're
now the
so
sirens are going off here, so
Oh,
it's
are they? First
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
First Tuesday, yeah.
Okay, so let's we're gonna wrap it up. And so when you have a person, number one, ignore them. If you can ignore it, move on, do it. Don't get yourself riled up because it'll ruin the rest of your day. If your first customer of the day is rude to you and then you're annoyed for the rest of the day, your whole day is going to go to shit. So don't do it. Don't let people do that to you. Be the, you be the master of your domain, and don't let anybody talk you out of that. And we could have hours of showtime that we talked about annoying people. Okay, they're all over the place. People annoy us every day for various reasons. So, deal with it. Figure out how to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, then maybe you shouldn't be with customers. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can't deal with it, yeah, it's probably not a good idea.
Not everybody's cut out for this.
From
Like we've talked about in other shows.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like, are you good at selling? Can you learn to become good at selling? I honestly, I wasn't. I don't think I wasn't, but
I don't believe that for a
I
minute.
took a lot of classes at Second City years ago, and I gotta say those tools have really benefited me in just dealing with. Talk about improv.
Well, you know what I did?
Mm.
I became a hostess, a waitress, and a bartender from the
Oh,
time I was
wow.
15 to
There
the
you
time
go.
I was 28.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if there's anything you ever need to learn about customer service, go work in the restaurant industry
People.
where
Yeah.
the customer is always right, and that's what you're taught. And so again, I think it's when that's where I've come from, I've learned that that's kind of where I've always gotten my customer service attitude. Some people don't have a customer service attitude. Like I've noticed this. My daughter doesn't. She doesn't like it.
Yeah.
And we joked about this. This is a silly, weird joke that I'm sure people will think, but we were once talking about what if we were to give eulogies of each other? Like if I was to give her eulogy if something happened to her and she was to give a eulogy if something happened to me. Jordan loves people. She used to love when people would come to her and tell them all her problems. And she loved it when people bitched at her. And, you know, sometimes you're just not cut out for it.
Right. Right. Well, I think we're kind of revolving around a number of different topics to resolve this in dealing with um, difficult people. And I'm going to say I want to end with that: the conversations you have with people, the interactions you have with people, that you leave it on a positive note, even if you don't make the sale. It's just one sale. It's just one transaction. Um, so, my final word. Hey, thanks again for listening to Vintage Therapy. New episodes every week. Thanks. Bye-bye.